Okay, welcome to the Concept Art Show. So this is a show where we take a look at the artists that make these interesting images that we see in video games and a lot of pop culture and movies. And so this week we are digging into the video game theme, and we're looking at Deus Ex.
Deus Ex.
Right. So the game is not out yet.
Not yet.
But it's a good time to talk about concept art for that reason.
Yeah, and there's tons of it.
Yeah. So what you got for us, Lyman?
Well, I was checking out some of the concept artists that worked on Deus Ex, and a couple of them are really interesting. There's one guy, his name is Sebastian Leroux, and he's a creative director at Steambot.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's and Steambot is a pretty amazing company. They worked on a lot of really big projects.
Yep.
They worked on Tron 2.0. They worked on James Cameron's Avatar.
Canadian company?
Yeah, in Montreal.
Yeah, they're in Montreal, aren't
Montreal,
they?
yes,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
It kind of makes sense. There's a really good video game scene in Montreal. Of
Oh, yeah.
course. Ubisoft is there, so that's a big influence, but there's a lot of great companies.
Yeah, there's Eidos Montreal too.
Mm-hmm.
They're there as well.
Yeah.
EA, I think, is there in that. Is EA there too?
I'd have to look it up. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. But
I haven't visited EA there.
Yeah.
So I'd be open to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I picked up. It's interesting to me because I see this trend happening all over the place. Like most games I find now, like most big titles when they launch, have some kind of other property that launches with it.
Yeah.
Quite often it's a comic.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a book as well. The books, sometimes you wonder what the quality is going to be like, how the writing will be, because they may be just kind of drafting on the popularity of the game. This book I'm finding, so this is called the Icarus Effect by James Swallow, and it's actually really good writing. Like I've been really impressed with this, and it's totally in character inside of the Deus Ex universe, which is based on these augmented people who have they can sort of like plug and play different types of cybernetic enhancements,
right?
And so it kind of jumps into the effect on society, and the characters themselves. This is part of their everyday life, but it hasn't been for that long.
Right.
It's not like super far future. It's sort of like near future.
It's 2027.
This is happening. Yeah. So it's not it is not what I would call like really high science fiction.
Yeah.
It's more like it's set to be close enough to us that we can relate to it.
Well, it's the whole the tagline is human revolution, right? So I guess it would be a time where humanity is about to advance, and there's a clash between the past and what is going to be the future. I guess we can look at it that way too.
Yeah. And what do you think of this style? Like one thing that I noticed is that anywhere I've seen Deus Ex, and I'm talking like the new Deus Ex, the palette is the same.
Yeah.
And right away I can see that it's like I don't think these are the same artists.
No, this is Jim Murray. I'm not sure who this artist is. Does it say?
Yeah, I couldn't find the cover artist.
Oh, okay.
For the book.
Well, Jim Murray, he's a.
Oh, wait a minute. Nope, Jim Murray, buddy.
Oh, Jim Murray. Same.
Yeah, it is the same.
Yeah, he's
that makes total sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Because having the same artist across both properties, you're going to establish like a similar look and feel that you can't miss.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Signature look, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, he's been around for a very long time. I actually have one of his comics, and I got it back in 1999, and it was when he did Batman Demon, and it's sort of a story of Batman set in the medieval era, and he can actually become a demon, but except Batman doesn't know he becomes a demon at night. So it's sort of like a werewolf thing, or it's a wizard who grants him this ability he doesn't
now,
really have.
Would you have recognized
I
this
didn't.
work being from him?
Actually, I didn't recognize his work when I first saw this, because it looks so radically different from what I've seen him do before.
Okay.
And I like this style a lot. The style he was working with before.
Would you say it's concept art evolved?
Yeah.
Ed?
Yeah, it's the concept art revolution.
Oh, yeah.
But his style reminded me, back in the day, reminded me a lot of the stuff that I saw in heavy metal. So I always assumed that he was still doing heavy metal work.
You were showing me it was very stylistically very recognizable, but quite different from what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And very colorful also.
Yeah, it's very vibrant.
This is more muted palettes, I think. Like, it's very warm. And I find that an interesting choice. Because usually, you know, if you're going with a high-tech kind of theme, you go with some cool palettes.
Yeah.
You go with cold colors and blues and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this sort of moves away from that.
Yeah.
To stay inside of a more gritty, organic type of palette.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know,
it gives a warmth to it. It doesn't feel cold and sterile. I think that's what they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
Because the story of a human revolution involves people.
Right.
You can't have something that's sterile if you're involving people in their stories and revolution.
Right. The real story is not the technology.
Yeah.
The story is the human beings.
Yeah.
The technology is more the catalyst for the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the palette would make sense if it were more warmer, more towards the warm tones.
Yeah, I like it. I'm looking forward to the game. I loved the original Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Played the hell out of that. I think it's actually the first, you know, really involving game that I played all the way through. The storyline was that captivating. And many people have said the same thing. It's a really, you know, engrossing story.
Yeah.
And I was very encouraged to find that the writing was so good in this book as well. And it's very much in the same vein with the comic. And I'll be interested to see whether they're going to introduce some of these folks inside of the game.
Yeah.
That'll be just really cool.
Yeah.
If they're able to kind of tie all those threads together like that.
I hope so.
I think that'd be good.
One of the things I love about this comic, I haven't actually read the entire thing through, but the artwork in this is amazing. It's an artist, his name is Trevor Harrison, and he's a British artist, and his stuff is just really solid. He has solid anatomy, the line work is unbelievable, and I like it also because it's a step away from using inkers to do the actual finishing for the comic.
Really?
They just left it as pencil. You can actually see some of this slight gradation in the gray if you look at the line work, which is what I always like comics that stray away from using inkers. Yeah. I think the ink is just too, 100%. There's not enough variation.
We're in a digital age as well. We have a lot more options with regard to, how the final output happens.
Yeah.
So, do you always need the inking step? Maybe not. You can do a lot of that digitally, but it does add a certain look to it. Yeah. It can make for a really strong definition of forms, which sometimes is great. In this case, do you need it? Well, when you're going for that gritty, organic type of thing, maybe you don't really need that strong definition of shapes. Although they are, even so, they come out very strongly defined.
It's very strong, and what I also like about this guy's art style is most comic artists really try to have solid cross-hatching when they're doing variations, from white to gray to black. His style is really loose, and the hatching is sort of all over the place, which is the exact opposite of what I was told when I was asking some illustrators, how do you do hatching? They're like, keep it very tight and very consistent. This guy's like, that's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for this comic, right?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's some bold decisions, you would say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it works.
It totally works. Yeah. I absolutely love it. And he's also compared a lot to Brian Hitch. He's another DC comic artist, and he's worked for Marvel too.
Okay.
Brian Hitch is another British guy. This guy's British too. And their styles are very similar, but his style is a little looser than Brian Hitch's. Trevor's style is a little looser than Brian Hitch's. So.
But they could probably work on the same property, you think?
They could probably interchange. At first, when I first saw this, I thought it was Brian Hitch because I know Brian Hitch before I knew Trevor. Yeah. But I like Trevor's stuff a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered Deus Ex pretty good. Yeah. Again, looking forward to the game. We'll probably cover it on the Oddcast as well. But in the meantime, for anyone who's looking for a a little taste
Yeah.
of that universe, who's kind of interested to learn more about it, pick up the book. It's actually really good. I'm really enjoying it.
Mhm.
Pick up the comic. This is issue 1 we have here. I'm not sure how many are going to be in the series. Hopefully be at least 4.
Yeah,
maybe more.
If you want some solid pencil work, check out this guy, Trevor Harrison.
Excellent.
Sweet.
We're out. Beautiful.
Awesome.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I like it.
We didn't even get to mask
good. It's needed, man.
It's
when you're working.
What's that?